This is Ag Matters PM from the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, brought to you by the Iowa Soybean Association, your daily recap of the information that affects Iowa's farmers, producers, and consumers, right here in the heart of the heartland. With reports from our award-winning broadcast team of Dustin Hoffman, Riley Smith, and Mark Magnuson. Now, from the IARN studios in Des Moines, here's Riley Smith.
Good day and welcome to Ag Matters PM on the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network. I'm Riley Smith. Today is Friday, May 17th of 2024. We're so glad you can join us for today's show. In today's episode, I run down the latest Iowa Ag News headlines, including a big story on the House Ag Committee releasing its draft of the Farm Bill, taking a little bit of a look at what is going on in that text. But first, let's take a look at how the markets closed.
It's time now for the Ag Matters PM Closing Market Summary, your source for market analysis and settlement prices from the day's trade in Chicago, courtesy of the folks at agmarket.net.
At the end of another trading day in the ag marketplace, we're here with Robin Schmahl of agmarket.net. Robin, as we end off this week in the trading markets, what do we see going on in the grains today?
Well, nothing really exciting. A little disappointing as far as the corn is concerned. We're seeing some of these delays. Crop progress is a little behind in some of the main I states because of some of the moisture. And there's some more, wet weather forecasts starting on Sunday again to move across. But generally, those kind of delays that we've seen historically, rain delays, don't last very long because we can plant a lot of stuff in a short period of time. So a little disappointing, though, that, we did see the weakness coming in this week in the corn and closing where it is today. Now, that was kind of followed suit with the wheat market. Now, wheat market's been strong because of some of the concerns in primarily the freezes that we've had in Russia. But, that market's moved up so fast that, it's taking a breather now. It'll be interesting to see how that all plays out there. Right now, Russia is reporting significant crop losses due to the frost, but they're looking at it as far as an acreage or hectare standpoint, and they're saying a 1% loss. Well, that's really not that much. There were some earlier predictions for 6%, but generally those are the knee-jerk reactions after. So, it remains to be seen how this all plays out, but the market kind of ran out of steam today, seeing some double-digit losses. Now, there's a little window of planting opportunity that we've had here this week in some areas up until the weekend. It has opened up so that some more progress can be made, but it's kind of in between the showers and getting things done, and there's been some that have reported some replant. There's concerns down in the south, primarily in Texas or so, that they've been so wet there that if this turns hot and dry, they have no root system for the corn. So that corn may be toast. But, again, it's all speculation. It's all anticipation or perception of what's going to happen in the marketplace. And that does move the market quite a bit. But if we see this continued pattern that we're seeing, even though we have some delays and we can get that put in the ground, we could really look for a potential of a large crops coming through with the moisture, because it's different than it was last year. That could really increase some of our crop potential. Now, the Wheat Quality Council crop tour, they're estimating the Kansas wheat yield at 46.5 bushels per acre. USDA is estimated 38 bushels per acre. So we could see a heftier wheat crop. And I think that was part of the reasons why we saw a little bit more of the pressure, coming in on the wheat market today. But wheat and corn kind of moved together. Soybeans stood out a little bit more by themselves. Recent estimates, they cut the soy production in Brazil by 1.8 to 3 million tons. Mainly in Rio Grande do Sul, where they've had a lot of rain affecting the quality of that crop. So that probably is underpinning that market a little bit. But when we look overall, we're going to continue to see some volatility. And And I think eventually there's a magnet, if you want to call it that, of December corn has a chart gap at 502 or 502 and a quarter, and soybeans at 1240 for the November contract. With our volatility, with some of the market movement we have in the summertime, those are very viable that they can be reached. But funds have covered a lot of short positions, putting themselves a little more neutral. So we can't really look at that as far as a huge fund short covering Katie bar the door type movement. It's going to have to be a movement based on some short-term perception on either missing some rains or something else that really could impact the market, because we do have a lot of grain in farmers' hands right now.
And then looking at the livestock side of things, how did we see those trading to end the week?
Well, cattle did really well. There was a little bit of cash trade that took place yesterday, $2 to $4 higher, depending on the area, but it was very little. So far, in the morning at least, there's been no cash trade that's been reported. So feedlots are holding really strongly, anticipating that the stronger box beef prices we've seen all week, that packers are going to have to step up a little bit and pay more, even though cattle weights are higher. They don't want to pay more. Their packer margins are below last year's by a fair amount and significantly below the 3-year average. But yet there's demand there that still needs to be met. Box beef at the midday was up $3.38, and select was up $1.58. So we've seen some really strong box beef. I think that's tied quite a lot to the Memorial Day weekend coming up. So some of the concern over the weakness in box beef that we saw earlier kind of dissipated this week, and that's what feedlots want to capitalize on. Once that gets through the system, it's kind of if consumers just kind of look at those higher prices in the economic situation, they might back off again. But right now, it looks like we're going to potentially see some higher cash this week, which would be a real victory as far as the feedlots are concerned. On the hog side, they are really struggling. I mean, we saw a reversal yesterday where we saw a low price, a new low for the move, and then a real nice rebound. Today, that all fell apart. They're really struggling. The cutouts were struggling this week. Cash really didn't do a whole lot. It was up some, down some, really didn't move a whole lot. Today, the midday daily direct market was down 58 cents on cash. There was some anticipation that we could see a little bit more strength for some cleanup buying. That didn't happen. Cutouts were up 22 cents, but that's minor based on some of the losses that we've seen this week. Some of the futures fell to the new lows. That sets more of a negative tone to end the week. The concern over demand coming into summer has really gripped the market, if you want to say, and it's been keeping it under pressure, keeping it in that downtrend. Even though the market's oversold, it hasn't made a whole lot of difference. There's been some continued liquidation of the funds. Hog weights on the positive side were down 0.2 or 0.2 of a pound this last week. However, on the flip side of that, the weights are up 2.9 pounds higher than a year ago. So that kind of puts more of a bearish aspect to the market. So even though we're seeing higher slaughter numbers coming through, we're seeing more tonnage coming through as well. So that's a really negative aspect, and the demand perception in the hog market, which took it down to those new lows for this move today and puts it on a really weak footing for starting next week.
All right, Robin, lots of great information today. For those of our listeners and viewers who would like to get in touch and learn more from the folks at agmarket.net, how can they do that?
They can give me a call directly if they would like. It's 877-256-3253, or if they prefer, go to the website, agmarket.net. The phone number's on. It's an 844 number. Feel free to call in and somebody will pick up the phone.
Great talking with you as always, Robin, and we look forward to more great market analysis soon.
All right. Thank you. It's always a pleasure.
That again was Robin Schmahl of agmarket.net. We'll take a look at how those numbers closed for the week through the market window at iowaagnet.com.
At the close, July corn down 4.5 at 452.5. July soybeans up at 11 3/4 at 12.28 even. July soybean meal up 110 at 368.80. July soybean oil up 75 cents at 45.27. Chicago wheat down 12 even at 651 1/4. Kansas City hard red wheat down 11.5 at 661 3/4. Minneapolis spring wheat down 9 1/4 at 711 1/2. July oats down 21 even at 365 even. On the Merc, June live cattle up 202 at 181.05. August feeders up 250 at 259.85. June lean hogs down 187 at 96.50. June pork cut out when unchanged at 103.50. And June class 3 milk up 33 cents at 21.45.
And that's been a check of the markets here on Ag Matters PM. We're going to go ahead and take a quick break to hear from our sponsor, the Iowa Soybean Association and the Soy Checkoff. When we come back, I have the latest Iowa Ag News headlines. This is Ag Matters PM.
Iowa Soybean Association is driven to deliver for Iowa's 40,000 soybean farmers. We're proud to provide objective agronomic research, a helping hand with soil and water stewardship, and timely industry news powered by the Soybean Checkoff. Learn more at iasoybeans.com.
Welcome back to Ag Matters PM on the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network. I'm Riley Smith. Time now to take a look at the latest Iowa Ag News headlines, starting off with a peek into that House draft of the Farm Bill. House Ag Chair G.T. Thompson released his draft of the 2024 Farm Bill today. In a note from Thompson, he said that the Farm Bill, quote, must align the farm safety net with the needs of producers, make long-term investment in locally led, voluntary, incentive-based conservation practices, expand market access and trade promotion opportunities, strengthen program operations to demand transparency and accountability to the taxpayer, revitalize rural communities and economies, and reinforce not only the importance of helping our neighbors in need, but doing so without indiscriminate expansion of our nutrition safety net. The 12 titles specifically cover commodities, conservation, trade, nutrition, credit, rural development, research, extension and related matters, forestry, energy, horticulture, marketing and regulatory reform, crop insurance, and miscellaneous topics like foreign animal disease preparedness and support for young and beginning farmers. For the full text and title-by-title breakdowns, visit agriculture.house.gov/Farm Bill. Leaders of the National Cattlemen's Beef Association, along with their Canadian and Mexican counterparts, signed a joint statement pledging to work together on a number of issues. The three organizations will continue advocating for greater oversight of emerging lab-grown proteins, protecting cattle from animal diseases, and promoting the sustainability of the cattle industry. The signing of this joint statement is an important step that unites cattle producers across North America and around the world to promote and protect efficient cattle production, says NCBA President Mark Isley. The three organizations also signed a letter to the U.S., Mexican, and Canadian governments asking them to re-engage in opening markets for beef exports and provide stronger science-based oversight of beef imports. Unfortunately, the three governments have expanded market access for beef imports while providing fewer opportunities for beef exports. Continuing this will only put North American cattle producers at a competitive disadvantage. And finally, on Wednesday, Governor Kim Reynolds signed two bills into law that were high priorities for the Iowa Cattlemen's Association. The Meat Integrity Bill, led by Senator Don Driscoll and Representative Heather Hora, protects against the misbranding of fake meat products and keeps experimental lab-grown protein out of supplemental nutrition programs and schools. During the signing, Governor Reynolds referenced that this bill is about transparency, ensuring consumers are told exactly what they are getting. She went on to say that it is just common sense that when a product is labeled as beef, pork, or chicken, it should come from an animal. The Meat Integrity Bill means that Iowa cattle producers are going to be relevant in the future, said Dan Delaney, an ICA member from Jefferson County. It means we won't have others trying to sell a product in the state labeled as beef, pork, or chicken if it doesn't come from that animal. This means a lot to the entire livestock industry. The second bill, HF 2649, was managed by Senator Driscoll and Representative Derek Wolf. and prevented a new tax on producers by reinstating the livestock capital gains deduction. Governor Reynolds shared that this bill will save producers collectively more than $18 million by 2030. She said that this bill prevents the net capital gain on the sale of livestock from being considered individual income for tax purposes. Delaney and Swenka echoed the positive financial impacts for producers referenced by the governor. They said that the signing of this bill was a great victory for today's producers and future generations of livestock producers. And that's all of the Iowa Ag News headlines we have for today. Thanks again for tuning into this episode of Ag Matters PM. You can find all of our content on our website at iowaagnet.com. Also find us on social media at Facebook, X, LinkedIn, and TikTok, and find our video content as well as previous episodes of AM PM on our YouTube channel. Make sure you subscribe and hit the notification bell to see when those videos go live. Don't forget as well our free Twice Daily Market podcast on Apple, Amazon, Google, Spotify, and Podbean. From the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network studios in Des Moines, I'm Riley Smith. On behalf of Mark Magnuson, Dustin Huffman, and Andy Peterson, we thank you for watching. This has been Ag Matters PM.